Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Oh!
I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
what? We don't know, right?
No, this is great. Okay, so the title is called Cheers from Heaven, and it's a book jacket as a graphic. So the title says Cheers from Heaven. There's like a sun. It's more of an illustration than an actual photograph per se. There's 5 young, I'd say kids maybe, on a brown blanket on the grass. Illustrations by Lily Grace Jackson. There's the name Thornton Klein. I'm not going to read everything. On the back, there's a bar of soap that says Cheers on it. And
actually, it's a postcard.
Oh, it's a postcard. Okay, so why don't you walk us through what this is?
Okay, so yeah, this is another pride and joy of mine. So
Nice.
This is my middle grade reader that launched October 19th. And we had so much going on with the book. And then at Christmas, about December 17th, my whole family came down with COVID and it was really bad.
Oh,
so
wow.
I only started working again about 3-4 weeks ago and am going back to promoting this book because there was a huge gap in there for that reason. But yes, this launched October 19th. Started writing it in 2018. It is with my co-writer who is part of my children's series that I have too for younger children, but this is a middle grade reader. There are several things that are really special about this because it is a story that's close to my heart. Part of it had the true element in it from Thornton's childhood. And my daughter did the illustrations inside and the cover.
Okay.
So,
nice.
Yeah. So thank you. So that's another reason it's special because it's got one of my daughters involved, and she is published now, I think 4 or 5 times as an illustrator. She actually just spent, yeah, it's really cool. And her love is digital art. So this cover is digital art. And so the back, it does look like, I guess it does in the small, tiny photo you have, but it actually is a postcard because there's a postcard involved in the end of the story.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what that is. And I guess maybe we should have changed it a little bit to look like that. But it's a story about 5 friends.
Don't question just because some chump on a podcast looked at it and said, "Oh, it looks like a bar of soap," or whatever. No. Like the thing with the book, this is what's kind of fascinating and amazing. And it kind of echoes your character in that to put out a book is to say, okay, well, like you're an author, which is to stand up as an authority, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like there's a certain self-confidence, self-esteem. If you want to be mean, you could say like a self-centeredness of being able to say, okay, you know what? I'm putting this flagpole in the ground. And if people want to join me and stand underneath the flagpole, well, there it is. I think every author I think it's safe to say that most authors might say, well, looking back at it now, I might change this or I might change that. But we could talk shop about the book or you could talk about the book. So where do you want to put our attention?
Well, I want to talk about the story because we really would love for this story to have kids have it all over the world. We really would, and that's nice. not an ego thing because I see what you're saying. It's not that. It's the story represents. It's very important now. It's got the bullying, and it's an anti-bullying book. I'll articulate there, and but it's
hey, don't let me get into your head. No, you just say the way you want to say it.
No, but it's true because I try to be very careful about articulating. But it's the second time somebody said, "Why are you doing something with bowling?" And I'm like, "Wait, no, not bowling." So, but it's okay. I think it's really funny because I've got a girlfriend from Australia. And my girlfriend who lives here, people misunderstand her all the time. And I'm always interpreting, no, that's not what she said. She said mint, not meat,
Okay.
So, but yeah, so we come in about 6 months after a child who was bullied passed away. His child passed away from cancer. So we really struggled with should we put this in a book for kids? Is it too edgy for children about death? No, death is part of life. It's a good conversation to have with your family.
Yep.
It's a good educational tool. Because I try and focus on the books that I write to be more than just a story, for them to have education in them and learning and teaching. And so, this is a story about 5 kids who bullied a child who was high functioning autistic. No one knew that. And they were not nice to him. They bullied him each in their own way. And in about 6 months in, when we come into the story, one of the children starts to have bad dreams about it and starts to feel guilty. And then they all start to feel guilty. So they go to their teacher and she advises them to go to the parents and apologize and tell them what they did. So that takes a lot of bravery for a child to take ownership of what they've done.
Yep.
But they need to at that age, that's growth, that's ownership and understanding what you've done in life. So you can be better. You can pivot if you need to. Sure. And so they went to the parents, and then it takes a little while for the parents to forgive, especially the father. But the child leaves them a box of notes for these 5 children and sends them on a journey of self-discovery through the book, finding other notes. And he had already forgiven them before he died. So they end up learning how to forgive themselves, and they learn how to turn their whole school around, actually, in honor of this child, to be better students, to be better friends, to accept others' differences, and to be kinder.
Sure.
So in the back of the book, there's about 12 applications in the back of the book that can be done with an individual child or groups of children or whole schools.
So where can people who are inspired, who hear this, other than in the description of this podcast, where can they find this book?
They can go to my website. That's www.maryejackson.com, or they can find it on Amazon. And it's, Cheers from Heaven. Now, if you go to my website, the books are there. My children's series is there if you're looking for books for younger children. And those, the premise is about, I'm perfectly made. However I came into this world, it doesn't matter. I'm still loved.
Yeah.
And there are I am statements in there to teach children that language early. I am brave. I am strong. I can do this, But then I'm a part of a couple of collaborative anthologies. And so those are there as well if somebody's looking for some adult books. So, yeah.
So I can get to know you a little bit better. You live near Nashville.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
What is for example, I live in Hong Kong. Right now, the backdrop, as we're speaking, is COVID is just like wildfire across Hong Kong, which has been really good to not have COVID, and now Omicron or whatever is just really. I mean, I think Hong Kong has now registered the highest mortality rate of all places. Like it's super, super high. So I live in a very urban space, cosmopolitan and all that stuff. So describe what's your setting and your environment to support you become sort of exploring being an author, because you need to have a certain structure to allow you to be an author.
Well, for as well, I mean, a lot of us know now virtual is pretty much our friend these days. I do have a public event. See, COVID, we've already been through the Omicron here. So everything is and I'm so sorry to hear about where you're at. I really am. It's sad to hear that. And my prayers go out to where you were at and those families losing folks and how difficult it is. But you don't almost even hear it in the news right now, because mostly what you hear in the news where we're at is about the war going on. So it's interesting that vaccinations aren't being talked about a lot. COVID isn't. There's, hardly any cases in the hospitals right now, except for other things that existed prior to, right? Because I have friends in the medical field, so they, I keep up and ask them questions about it. But it's interesting. It's very low key here now, so people are very much out. The mask mandates are gone. My oldest daughter is in college, and they were touring this last weekend because she's a music, vocal and instrument major, and they had a tour this last weekend for break. Oh wow! And only three or four individuals out of the whole group actually had their mask on while they were performing. Okay. So
right,
it's really our preference now.
Yeah,
and So I do have an in-person event this Saturday at our local library with the book. And then 2 weeks, well, the weekend after that, I have an in-person event because I'm putting together art exhibit that will feature 8 local artists who all have challenges or disabilities. And we're calling it Creativity Empowers. And the symphony in Nashville will be there to help us open it up. And so we are having more in-person things, which is nice. But I think virtual is still where we're depending a lot for, as an author, to reach audiences.
Just like us right now.
Right. Interviews are very, very important. And it's amazing how many there are. So many people have jumped on the bandwagon of live streaming and podcasting. And, you know, it's interesting to see because I've been doing it 3.5 years. So it's really grown.
Okay. Awesome. So let's just remind listeners once again from this book, Cheers from Heaven.
It's a middle grade reader.
Middle grade reader. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So it's not really written as like a novel, or what is it?
Well, it's the ages. So it's that genre title. You know, you have your younger, you know, your children's, and then middle grade reader. Then you go to YA. So it's really like ages 8 to 14, but it really does have lessons in there for any age. I have adult friends who have read it. So But yeah.
Okay. Would you like to move on to the next image?
Sure.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.